Hello, guys. Welcome to Episode Hunter. What happens when you combine classic 1980s nostalgia, childhood friendship, government conspiracy, and pure horror into one story? You get the opening episode of the legendary Netflix series Stranger Things. From the very first few minutes, the show grabs your attention with suspense, mystery, and a cinematic atmosphere that feels inspired by Steven Spielberg and Stephen King. Today, we're reviewing the opening sequence and explaining why it became one of the most iconic introductions in modern television. The episode begins in Hawkins, Indiana, on November 6, 1983. Immediately, the audience is thrown into a dark government laboratory setting. The lighting is dim, the hallways are empty, and alarms suddenly begin going off. A scientist desperately runs through the facility trying to escape something unseen. What makes this scene so effective is that the show doesn't reveal the monster right away. Instead of showing the creature, the camera focuses on fear. You can see panic in the scientist's face, hear strange sounds, and feel tension building every second. This is classic horror storytelling. Movies like Alien, The Thing, and Jaws use the same technique. Hide the monster and let the audience's imagination do the work. The elevator scene is especially memorable. Just before the doors close, something attacks the scientist. The audience still doesn't fully know what happened, but now there's one clear message. Something dangerous has escaped. And just like that, the mystery begins. After the intense horror opening, the show suddenly changes tone. We move from a terrifying laboratory to a cozy suburban basement where a group of kids are playing Dungeons and Dragons. This transition is brilliant. It instantly creates emotional contrast. One moment we're terrified, and the next moment we're watching kids laugh, argue, and enjoy a fantasy game. The chemistry between the boys feels natural and believable. They aren't written like perfect Hollywood characters. They talk over each other, joke around, and act like real middle school friends. For American audiences, this scene perfectly captures 1980s suburban culture. Riding bikes everywhere, hanging out in basements, playing tabletop games instead of using phones, strong neighborhood friendships. The Dungeons and Dragons game also acts as foreshadowing. The kids talk about monsters and danger during the game, which mirrors the supernatural events happening in the real world. This is one of the smartest storytelling techniques in the episode. The fantasy world and the real horror world slowly begin connecting. Another reason this opening works so well is because the show takes time to make the characters feel human. The kids aren't superheroes. They're awkward, nerdy, funny, and relatable. You immediately understand their friendship dynamic. Mike feels like the leader. Dustin brings humor and energy. Lucas is more practical and skeptical. And Will feels quieter and more vulnerable. The show makes you care about them before the danger truly begins. That emotional setup becomes extremely important later. Even the small moment where Mike's mom tells them it's late and time to go home adds realism. It reminds viewers that Hawkins is just a normal American town. That normal feeling makes the horror even more effective. Once Will leaves and rides home alone at night, the mood changes again. The streets are empty. The lighting becomes darker. The soundtrack grows more tense. This scene perfectly captures the feeling of isolation. The audience already knows something escaped from the laboratory, so every shadow suddenly feels dangerous. Will notices strange sounds and begins panicking. He rides faster, trying to reach home safely. This is where the episode becomes truly gripping. Even though very little is shown directly, the tension is incredibly strong. The cinematography deserves praise here. The camera angles, lighting, and pacing all work together to create fear without relying on cheap jump scares. Instead of shocking the audience every few seconds, the show slowly builds dread. That's why the suspense feels real. Will finally reaches his house, but the danger follows him. You can feel his fear as he realizes something unnatural is nearby. The scene ends by setting up the central mystery of the series. What exactly escaped from the laboratory? And what happened to Will? This is what makes the opening episode so effective. It doesn't answer everything immediately. Instead, it creates questions that make viewers want to continue watching. Great mystery storytelling is about curiosity, and Stranger Things masters that from the very beginning. Overall, the opening of Stranger Things is one of the best TV introductions in recent years. It successfully combines horror science fiction, nostalgia, mystery, emotional storytelling, childhood adventure. The show understands atmosphere incredibly well. Every scene feels carefully designed to pull the audience deeper into Hawkins. What truly makes it special is the balance. It's scary without becoming overwhelming, emotional without becoming cheesy, and nostalgic without feeling forced. Even after all these years, the opening episode still feels fresh, cinematic, and incredibly engaging. If you enjoy stories like E.T., The Goonies, Stephen King adaptations, or classic 1980s sci-fi horror, then Stranger Things is absolutely worth watching. Final rating, 9 out of 10. A near-perfect opening that instantly hooks the audience and sets up one of the most memorable mystery adventures in modern television. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more movie and series breakdowns. Thanks for watching.